You are not too busy. You are distracted. And there is a difference. You wake up in the morning, pick up your phone, and tell yourself you're only going to check one thing. One message, one notification, one video, and suddenly, 20 minutes are gone. You sit down to study. You open your computer. You have a goal. You know what you need to do. But then your phone lights up. You check it. You come back. You try to focus again. Another notification appears. You check it again. And slowly, without even realizing it, your attention is being taken away from you. Minute by minute, hour by hour, day after day. And then, at the end of the day, you ask yourself, why didn't I get anything done? The answer is simple. You gave your attention to everything except the thing that mattered. Think about that. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you have. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose time, and there is nothing you can do about it. But your attention is what decides where that time goes. And every single day, the world is fighting for it. Social media wants it. Entertainment wants it. Notifications want it. Other people's opinions want it. Your phone wants it. Everyone wants a piece of your mind. And if you don't decide where your attention goes, someone else will decide for you. That is the real problem. You think you have a motivation problem. Maybe you don't. You think you need more discipline. Maybe you do. But before discipline, there is something even more important. Control. Because how can you build discipline if you cannot control what you look at? How can you build a career if you cannot concentrate on your work? How can you learn a difficult skill if your mind needs a new distraction every 30 seconds? How can you build the future you dream about if you cannot stay focused long enough to work for it? You cannot. And this is where most people lose. Not because they are stupid, not because they are incapable, not because they don't have dreams. They lose because their attention is constantly divided. They start something. They get distracted. They start again. They stop. They check their phone. They come back. They lose momentum. And then they wonder why progress feels so slow. But listen carefully. Your life is moving in the direction of whatever receives your attention. If you spend hours consuming other people's lives, you will have less time to build your own. If you spend your attention on distractions, distractions will become your life. If you spend your attention on learning, building, creating, and improving, something different begins to happen. You begin to change. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because your future is not created by what you say you want. It is created by what you repeatedly give your attention to. That is why focus matters. Not because productivity is fashionable, not because successful people talk about it, but because your attention is your life. And every time you say yes to a distraction, you are saying no to something else. No to your goals. No to your growth. No to your potential. And maybe the hardest truth is this. Nobody is coming to protect your attention for you. You have to protect it yourself. The world will continue to get louder. There will always be another message, another video, another notification, another excuse, another reason to stop. But you don't have to obey every distraction that appears in front of you. You can choose. You can say, not now. This matters more. And that simple decision can change everything. Because deep focus begins with a decision. A decision to stop giving your mind away. A decision to take back control. A decision to choose one thing and stay there. Because once you learn how to control your attention, you discover something powerful. You don't need more hours. You need more control over the hours you already have. And that is where everything changes. You don't need to control the entire world. You need to control yourself. Because the moment you decide to focus, something will try to pull you away. Your phone will be there. Your messages will be there. Your thoughts will be there. Your doubts will be there. And sometimes, the biggest distraction won't come from the world. It will come from your own mind. You sit down to work, and suddenly you remember something you need to do. You start studying, and suddenly you feel tired. You try to read, and suddenly you want to check your phone. You tell yourself, I'll do it later. And later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. And eventually, the dream you once had becomes something you only talk about. But it doesn't have to be that way. You don't need to feel motivated before you begin. You need to begin before you feel motivated. That's the difference. Most people wait for the perfect mental state. They wait to feel inspired. They wait to feel energetic. They wait for the right moment. But deep focus doesn't work like that. You don't wait for focus. You create the conditions for focus. Remove the phone. Close the unnecessary tabs. Turn off the notifications. Clear your desk. Choose one task. And begin. One task. Not 5. Not 10. 1. Because your mind becomes powerful when it stops jumping from one thing to another. When you study, study. When you work, work. When you create, create. When you rest, rest. Give one thing your full attention. That is the power of one. And at first, it will feel uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Because your mind has been trained to escape. The moment something becomes difficult, you look for something easier. The moment you become bored, you look for entertainment. The moment you feel resistance, you want to stop. But resistance is not a sign that you should quit. Sometimes, resistance is the doorway to concentration. Stay there. Stay with the difficult problem. Stay with the difficult page. Stay with the difficult idea. Don't run away just because your brain is asking for something easier. Your mind will tell you, check your phone. Don't. Take a break. Not yet. Let's do something else. No. Maybe tomorrow. No. You don't have to obey every thought that enters your mind. Read that again. You don't have to obey every thought that enters your mind. A thought is not an order. A feeling is not an order. A distraction is not an order. You can notice it and let it pass. That is where real discipline begins. Not when everything is easy, but when you want to stop and decide to continue. Every time you resist a distraction, you strengthen your ability to focus. Every time you finish what you started, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you choose your goal over temporary pleasure, you become a little stronger. And eventually, something changes. You stop needing constant stimulation. Silence doesn't feel empty anymore. Work doesn't feel impossible anymore. Studying doesn't feel like punishment anymore. Your mind becomes quieter. Your thoughts become clearer. And you begin to experience something most people rarely experience today. Deep focus. That state where the outside world becomes quieter. Where time seems to disappear. Where you are completely inside the thing you are doing. You are no longer checking the clock every 2 minutes. You are no longer waiting for the next notification. You are no longer thinking about what everyone else is doing. You are there. Fully present, fully engaged, fully focused. And that is powerful, because when you can focus deeply, you can learn deeply, you can work deeply, you can create deeply, you can solve problems that other people give up on. You can spend an hour learning something that used to take you a week. Not because you suddenly became smarter, but because your mind is finally working in one direction. And that is the secret. Focus is not about forcing your brain to work harder. It is about removing everything that keeps pulling your brain apart. You don't need more stimulation. You need less noise. You don't need another productivity app. You need the courage to sit in silence and do the work. You don't need another motivational video. You need to close the video and begin. Because information without action changes nothing. Knowing what to do is not enough. You have to do it. And there will be days when you don't feel like it. There will be days when your mind feels heavy. There will be days when the work feels boring. There will be days when quitting feels easier. Those are the days that matter. Because anyone can focus when everything feels good. The real test comes when you don't feel like continuing. Can you stay? Can you remain? Can you keep your attention on the thing that matters? That is discipline. Not perfection. Not endless motivation. Just the ability to say, this is important. And stay. 1 minute. Then another. Then another. Until one day, you realize that you are no longer the person who is controlled by every notification, every impulse, and every distraction. You are becoming someone different. Someone who can choose where their attention goes. Someone who can sit down and work. Someone who can say no. Someone who can stay when things become difficult. And once you can control your attention, you can begin to control your direction. And when you control your direction for long enough, your life begins to change. Your attention is your life. And now you have a choice. You can go back to the same distractions, the same endless scrolling, the same notifications, the same excuses, or you can decide that your attention is too valuable to waste. Because somewhere inside you, there is a person you know you can become, more disciplined, more focused, more capable. But that person is not built by thinking about change. That person is built in the moments when nobody is watching. When you put the phone away. When you choose the difficult task. When you keep going even when you don't feel like it. When you sit down and focus. That's where transformation begins. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Today. So choose one thing that matters to you. One goal. One skill. One dream. And give it your attention. Protect it. Work on it. Stay with it. Because if you can control your attention, you can control your actions. If you can control your actions, you can change your habits. And if you can change your habits, you can change your life. The world will always be loud. Let it be loud. You don't have to listen. The world will always try to distract you. Let it try. You don't have to follow. You know what matters. Now give it your attention. Give it your time. Give it your discipline. And become the person you were meant to become. So, before you leave, ask yourself one question. What deserves my attention right now? If you know the answer, don't just keep it in your mind. Write it down. And if this message spoke to you, tell me in the comments, what are you choosing to focus on? Maybe your answer will remind someone else to stop scrolling and start building. And if you believe your attention is worth protecting, leave a like. Not for the algorithm, for the decision you just made. And if you want more powerful English like this, English that helps you learn, think, and grow, stay with us. Because this is only the beginning. Now, put the phone away. Choose one thing. And focus.